The day humanity arrived, we realized it was all over, admitted the alien. The Council of the 78 Constellations met in urgent silence, each representative seated on their floating silver dais in a massive ring around the central podium. Ribbons of starlight swirled around the chamber, illuminating the hundreds of alien species in attendance. The air was tense, thicker than the atmosphere on the volcanic moons of Icthar, as though the collective body could feel the weight of a revelation too terrible to ignore. Counselor Vree, a distinguished member of the gorilla species, sat at the forefront of the assembly, his 6 golden eyes narrowed in worry. Vree's kind were tall and armored in natural scales, known for their wisdom and martial prowess. Yet, even he seemed uneasy, his claws tapping a rhythmic beat on his podium as he turned to face the council. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, we are gathered here not to debate, but to recount our final moments as the galaxy we once knew. He paused, letting the gravity of his words sink in. For today, we must face a single, undeniable truth: humanity has arrived. A wave of murmurs and whispers echoed around the chamber. Representatives from countless species, each with unique physiques and expressions alien to one another, shifted in their seats, exchanging nervous glances. The species represented here had centuries of peace, a carefully constructed balance of power, resources, and territories, but that balance had recently been shattered. "Bring in the recording," Vree ordered, and the lights dimmed. The holoscreen in the center of the chamber flickered to life, casting eerie, blue-tinted shadows on the council members. The image that appeared was that of an unknown world, verdant, lush, with deep blue skies. A small, silvery human vessel had landed on the surface, its hull gleaming in the sunlight. The humans who stepped out were clad in armored suits, with visors that flashed in the sunlight and weapons that seemed to hum with restrained energy. The counselors watched, entranced, as the humans approached a team of alien scouts sent to greet them. The scouts, hardened mercenaries from the Zalorian Guard, stood at attention, their powerful frames nearly double the size of these strange humans. Yet, as the humans moved, there was no hint of fear or hesitation in their posture. Their every step was confident, purposeful, as though they had nothing to fear from the guards who loomed over them. Vree leaned forward, his voice low. "Do you see their gaze? Their lack of fear? These are not beings who acknowledge weakness." The image on the screen changed to another encounter. This time, it was a human diplomat speaking to the Hixian Queen, a ruler of a peaceful yet formidable race known for their powerful telepathy. The Hixian, with her flowing white robes and serene demeanor, attempted to enter the human's mind, a gesture meant to foster understanding, but the human merely blinked, unperturbed, and continued speaking as if nothing had happened. Counselor Hyrl, a wide, turtle-like creature from the Zelkan swamps, muttered in disbelief. They resisted the Hixian mindwalk? Resisted? Vree let out a humorless laugh. The humans didn't even register it. A tremor passed through the council. To ignore a Hixian mindwalk required an unbreakable mental discipline or something entirely beyond their comprehension. Humanity's arrival was not only a physical presence, it was a psychological storm, sweeping through every system they encountered. The holoscreen shifted again. Now, it displayed a battlefield on a desolate moon, pocked with craters and shrouded in dust. This time, the humans were not diplomats, nor were they explorers, they were warriors, donned in sleek, black suits with exoskeletons that enhanced their strength and speed. They fought with a tenacity that defied reason. One council member, an avian Sithra with feathers that shimmered like liquid silver, whispered in fear. They fought the Dranax horde, and won. The Dranax were among the galaxy's most brutal mercenaries, known for their unstoppable aggression and sheer physical power. Yet here, on this moon, a small unit of human soldiers had broken through the horde's ranks as though they were nothing more than pests to be swatted aside. Yes, Vree confirmed, the humans took down the horde. They didn't rely on brute force, nor did they use overwhelming numbers. They used strategy, discipline, and an unwavering will to survive. As the screen darkened, Vree's voice grew grave. Esteemed counselors, these humans, these Deathworlders, have survived every hardship their home planet could throw at them: biological threats, extreme climates, even their own wars. They have mastered survival itself, and now, they have come to our galaxy. A hush fell over the assembly. Counselor Trax, a slender, bioluminescent member of the council from the water-covered world of Crystallis, raised a glowing fin. What do they seek? Conquest? Resources? Power? Vree shook his head slowly. That is the mystery. They seem not to want dominion, nor are they openly hostile. They appear curious, yet their arrival brings an unsettling realization. His golden eyes flashed as he looked over the council members. In every interaction, every conflict, every negotiation, humanity has proven one thing: they are prepared for anything, and they do not back down. The council members shifted uncomfortably. The silence was almost suffocating as the realization set in. Humanity didn't need to conquer, didn't need to threaten. Its very presence was enough to disrupt the balance. Every species that crossed their path would have to consider what it meant to share space with them, for humans could turn even the most peaceful galaxy into an arena of endless challenges. Vri concluded in a voice thick with the weight of his words. The day humanity arrived in our galaxy, we realized that our way of life, our systems of balance, were all over, not because of what they demanded or took, but because of what they are. Humanity is a force unto itself, a species for whom the word limit means something different, and we. He took a deep breath, knowing that this truth would shake the council to its core. We have no choice but to adapt to them, or risk being left behind. As the words echoed through the council chamber, a chill settled over the assembly. The galactic councilors, each representing civilizations that had stood unchallenged for millennia, now found themselves reckoning with a reality they had never anticipated. For in the vast reaches of space, a new kind of power had arrived. And there was no stopping it. The chamber remained silent, the air thick with an unfamiliar blend of fear and awe. Each counselor seemed frozen, grappling with the reality of this new presence. It was Counselor Trax who finally broke the silence, her voice a soft ripple through the tense room. Counselor Vri, if what you say is true, we need to understand them, their goals, their beliefs. If humanity's arrival marks a change to our way of life, then perhaps we can find a way to align ourselves with them, to avoid conflict. Vri gave a slow, solemn nod. I agree, Counselor Trax. Yet every attempt to understand them so far has shown only the surface of their capabilities. What lies beneath, the driving force of humanity, is still a mystery to us. Counselor Hyrl, the turtle-like elder, adjusted his massive shell, casting a troubled gaze at his colleagues. These humans, they come from a place of relentless hardship and danger, a death world as we call it. But what we don't yet comprehend is how they view us, and this galaxy. Are we allies, competitors? Professor Lilara, an elder of the mentally powerful Hixians, had been silent throughout the presentation. She finally spoke, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of insight. To understand them, we must first understand the soul of a Deathworlder. They have known conflict since the dawn of their species. Their minds are honed by competition, forged by necessity. They are survivors of their own world, and now of others. She glanced around the room, her deep purple eyes narrowing. And yet, they have not yet attacked us. Humanity brings power, yes, but they bring curiosity as well. Perhaps this can be our way forward. The counselors seemed to absorb her words, a sense of hope weaving into the tension that had hung thickly over them. At that moment, the council doors opened, and an assistant, a young Elori with pale skin and wide, blinking eyes, approached Vri. Counselor Vri, the human ambassador is here. Shall I permit entry? Vri felt his scales bristle. Despite the somber discussion that had taken place, part of him still felt a sense of trepidation. Humans were unpredictably dangerous and astoundingly skilled, and yet here he was, about to welcome their representative into the heart of the Galactic Council's decision-making center. But this was a necessary step. Let them in, Vri ordered, trying to mask his unease. The assistant nodded and retreated through the massive council doors. Moments later, the human ambassador walked in, his footsteps echoing through the chamber. He was taller than most aliens present but carried himself with a calm, almost humble confidence that seemed to contradict the council's fearful expectations. His short, dark hair and tailored dark uniform hinted at his military background, though his expression was one of warmth rather than aggression. Counselor Vri, esteemed members of the council, the human ambassador's voice was deep but unassuming, carrying a rich resonance that filled the vast chamber. Vri inclined his head. Ambassador Brooks, thank you for joining us today. We are honored to welcome the representative of humanity to this assembly. Brooks nodded graciously. The honor is mine, Counselor Vri. I come here today to assure you of our intentions. Humanity seeks partnership, not domination. We recognize the value of cooperation and wish to contribute to this galaxy in ways that benefit us all. The council members exchanged uncertain glances. This was the statement they had hoped for, yet disbelief lingered. It was Counselor Trax who spoke first. Ambassador Brooks, we understand humanity's wish to cooperate, Trax began, her voice carefully measured. But there is a concern that your species' natural resilience, combined with your remarkable strategic prowess, may pose challenges to the delicate balance of power in this galaxy. Brooks paused, a glint of understanding in his eyes. I understand. To many of you, we seem alien not just in form but in mindset, and in truth, we are. Our planet demanded our strength and ingenuity to survive, but that does not mean we seek conflict here. As he spoke, a faint holographic display projected from a device on his wrist, illuminating scenes from Earth's history, towering mountains, fierce storms, vast deserts, and sprawling cities filled with people of all colors, ages, and cultures, a mosaic of humanity's strength and diversity. Earth taught us to adapt, yes, it taught us to endure, Brooks continued, but it also taught us the value of unity, of collaboration. We have had our wars, true, but we have also strived for peace. Our greatest triumphs come not from conquest, but from finding common ground in the face of adversity. Counselor Vree regarded the images with a quiet intensity. Then you understand that our concern is not about your intent, but about your nature. Humanity, simply by existing, has shifted the tides of this galaxy. How can we be certain that your presence will not one day endanger us all? The ambassador considered his words, his gaze steady. That is a question only time can answer, Counselor. But I can assure you that my people value the chance to build something greater together. The counselors seemed to absorb his response, yet there was still an air of uncertainty among them. Brooks glanced around, sensing their fear, and decided on a more direct approach. Perhaps, he said, you'd prefer an example of our unity in action. My people have faced every imaginable threat on Earth, but we've survived by lifting each other up, by sharing knowledge, and by protecting those in need. Brooks gestured to his hologram, where now an image of a group of humans working together was displayed, doctors, soldiers, and teachers in harsh conditions, their faces marked by exhaustion yet illuminated with hope and determination. We seek to share this strength with you, not impose it. We are here to build alliances, to offer our resilience and our knowledge. If there is danger ahead, then let us face it together. In that moment, Counselor Trax's bioluminescent fin brightened, signaling a shift in mood. Ambassador Brooks, your words speak to our hopes as well as our fears. Perhaps there is merit in this partnership. The ambassador offered a respectful nod, his gaze sweeping across the room. All we ask is that you let us prove ourselves, not as Deathworlders, but as allies. As the council considered his offer, a cautious optimism filled the chamber. Humanity's arrival had indeed changed everything, but perhaps, with courage and trust, this change would lead them all toward a future greater than they could have imagined. For the first time since humanity's arrival, the Council saw not a threat, but a chance for unity, one as resilient and boundless as the Deathworlders themselves. The Council chamber remained buzzing even after Ambassador Brooks had left. Counselor Vree, now in a smaller briefing room with his closest advisors, reviewed the holographic footage of the ambassador's speech, analyzing every word, every expression. The sincerity had been evident, yet a gnawing unease persisted. Trusting humanity was a risk, a gamble with a force they still barely understood. Counselor Trax hovered near Vree, her bioluminescent fin glowing faintly in thought. Their power to survive and adapt is impressive, yes, but it's their potential for cooperation that intrigues me most, she said. Perhaps this partnership could be our greatest strength if we navigate it wisely. Vree turned, studying her for a moment. If we ally with them, we risk integrating a species with motivations and abilities that could one day outpace us all. But if we reject their alliance, he paused, his tone darkening, then we may lose access to their knowledge, to the very strength they are offering. From a screen on the far wall, reports flooded in from across the galaxy, sharing observations about humanity's rapid expansion, their knowledge sharing, their medical advances, and even their weaponry. But amid the reports of human resilience and adaptability, another darker thread had emerged: rumors of a hidden faction. Word spread that a small group of extremist humans, dissatisfied with the slow pace of diplomatic talks, had begun preparing for the worst, conflict with the Galactic Council itself. Vree glanced at Trax, the lines of concern deepening on his scaled brow. If these rumors are true, then humanity's alliance is a double-edged sword. we'll need to investigate further. Meanwhile, back on the human exploration ship Endeavour, Ambassador Brooks paced restlessly. He'd delivered his message to the council, but he sensed their skepticism lingering in the background. Standing by a viewing window, he watched the stars drift by, feeling the weight of his people's future pressing on his shoulders. If they were to secure humanity's place among these alien civilizations, they would have to prove themselves, and quickly. Lieutenant Mariah Santos, his chief diplomatic advisor, entered the room with an urgent look. Ambassador, there's been a message from Earth. Command wants us to be ready for anything. They're concerned about how long the Council is taking to finalize a decision on the alliance. Brooks nodded slowly, feeling the quiet pressure from his own people. If we're not careful, Mariah, we might end up in the exact situation we're trying to avoid. An alliance based on trust will crumble under paranoia. Mariah, ever pragmatic, folded her arms. And if we fail, they might turn on us. Some of them already see us as a threat. Back on the council station, Councillor Vree decided it was time for action. He couldn't risk humanity becoming an unknown threat. If an alliance was to work, then both sides needed transparency. He ordered an envoy mission. A council of representatives from each major species would visit Earth and experience humanity's ways firsthand. 2 weeks later, the council delegates arrived on Earth. They were escorted to a high-level human research facility deep in the Amazon basin, an environment as rich in life as it was hostile. The alien counselors were fascinated and horrified by what they saw. Humanity's engineers and scientists had adapted not only to the jungle's dangers, its venomous creatures, thick humidity, and relentless heat, but they had even turned those very dangers into allies. The research center's power came directly from the river itself, using natural energy channels, and scientists were studying the plants and animals for medicines and technology enhancements. As Counselor Trax watched, she noticed something remarkable about the humans' approach to their environment. They didn't seek to dominate it. Instead, they had learned to live alongside it, understanding its power and potential rather than attempting to destroy it. It was Counselor Hyrl who finally spoke, his voice filled with awe. They thrive not by conquering, but by learning, adapting, and coexisting. They even study the elements that could harm them, seeking to use them for good. Vree, however, couldn't shake his underlying doubt. And yet, there are still rumors among us. Humans are capable of incredible feats, but also darker actions. Just then, Brooks appeared beside them. That's what it means to be a Deathworlder, Counselor Vree, he said. On Earth, we faced darkness many times. It made us who we are, but it's also made us value peace, because we know the cost of losing it. Vree studied him closely, and finally nodded. Then show us more, Ambassador. If this alliance is to work, it must be built on truth, not pretense. The next weeks were a whirlwind of exchange and understanding. Humanity opened its doors, displaying its rich diversity. From bustling cities to tranquil rural communities, the counselors watched as humans shared their knowledge, their technology, and, perhaps most importantly, their desire for cooperation. Yet, Vree knew the stakes were rising. As the council prepared to make its final decision, rumors grew louder of the human extremist faction, now calling themselves the Sentinels, planning an attack if they felt the alliance was a failure. The counselors faced a choice: embrace the alliance and hope humanity would grow peacefully, or reject it, and risk pushing humanity's darkest instincts to the surface. On the eve of the council's final meeting, Vree met with Brooks privately. The air between them was thick with tension, each representing an entire galaxy on the brink of change. Ambassador Brooks, Vree began, his voice low, we've seen both sides of your people, your resilience, your intelligence, and your fearlessness, but we also see the shadows that lie beneath. If we grant this alliance, I need to know that humanity will not allow its darker side to threaten the council. Brooks's gaze was steady. Counselor Vree, our people are complicated. Yes, we have those who thrive on conflict, but that's exactly why an alliance with the council matters so much. With you, we have a chance to create a future that transcends our past. Vree gave a slow, deliberate nod. Then let us hope that the future we create is greater than the fears we leave behind. The next day, in a historic vote, the Galactic Council accepted humanity's proposal for alliance. But even as cheers erupted across human and alien systems, Ambassador Brooks knew that the journey was far from over. An alliance would not erase centuries of fear and darkness. It would take vigilance, compromise, and the strength of both sides to make it work. Humanity's presence had indeed changed the galaxy forever, whether for good or ill. However, only time would tell. As the stars shimmered beyond the council's chamber, Brooks and Vree exchanged one last look, both aware of the unspoken truth: the real challenge was just beginning. You said. The newly formed alliance between humanity and the Galactic Council seemed, on the surface, to be a diplomatic triumph. Trade routes opened, technology exchange began, and specialized teams from various species started training together. But beneath this promising veneer, tensions simmered. Rumors of the human extremist faction, the Sentinels, kept many council members on edge, and some alien races, especially those with longer, more peaceful histories, felt an uneasy fear toward humanity's unpredictable nature. Councillor Vree, tasked with monitoring humanity's activities closely, felt the weight of his new responsibility with every passing day, and he wasn't alone. The council chambers had become a place of whispered suspicions and uncertain glances as delegates shared quiet conversations on how best to handle the alliance. Meanwhile, on the human exploration ship Endeavour, Ambassador Brooks sat in a quiet briefing room, reviewing security updates. Next to him, Lieutenant Mariah Santos looked at her tablet, her expression grave. Ambassador, she began, our intelligence reports are becoming more alarming. The Sentinels aren't just a rumor anymore. They're actively recruiting, targeting humans who feel the Council will only exploit us. They think we're giving away our knowledge and strength to species that are, well, weaker. Brooks sighed heavily. If the Sentinels gain too much support, it could tear this alliance apart before it's even had a chance to prove itself. We need to stop them before they take things further. They're already operating in the shadows, stirring up anger and distrust, Mariah replied, lowering her voice as though the walls might be listening. If they keep escalating, it could lead to something catastrophic. Brooks nodded, already strategizing. Then we need to strengthen our alliances and prove to our own people and to the Council that this partnership is worth the effort. Just then, a message pinged on his communicator. It was from Counselor Trax, requesting an urgent private meeting. That evening, Brooks met Counselor Trax on a secure channel, her bioluminescent glow reflecting the quiet determination in her expression. Trax's tone was unusually serious. Ambassador, I have received intel from sources within the Council that there may be a planned attack, possibly orchestrated by the Sentinels, meant to sabotage the Alliance negotiations. They seek to frame you, to make it seem as though humanity has betrayed us. Brooks's face hardened. This is exactly what we feared. If the Council thinks humanity can't be trusted, they'll sever the Alliance, and we'll be at odds. It's the Sentinels' perfect strategy. Trax's fin glowed brightly in thought. It seems we must act quickly and with great caution. We can't let them provoke a conflict that neither of us wants. A silent understanding passed between them. The Alliance had to be protected, not just from external threats but from the festering distrust within their own ranks. The day of the planned peace summit arrived. Representatives from every major species had gathered on the neutral planet of Elindra Prime, its golden-hued skies and vast grassy plains lending a sense of hope to the proceedings. Security was at an all-time high, with patrols of mixed human and alien soldiers stationed around the summit grounds. Every precaution had been taken to prevent any disruptions, yet the air was thick with tension. Brooks, standing in a briefing room with his diplomatic team, took a final look at the summit schedule. He could feel the weight of the stakes pressing on him. This was the moment they'd worked for, a chance to cement the alliance in a way that even the Sentinels couldn't break. But an hour into the summit, an explosion rocked the east wing of the summit hall, shattering the fragile peace. Chaos erupted as alien and human security forces scrambled to evacuate delegates and protect key council members. Brooks and Lieutenant Santos sprinted toward the explosion's epicenter, their hearts pounding with dread. Upon reaching the scene, they found Counselor Trax lying amid the debris, unconscious but alive. As medics tended to her, Brooks scanned the crowd, his gaze landing on a group of humans in black armor who had infiltrated the summit grounds under the guise of security personnel. Sentinels, he muttered, feeling a wave of anger. They'd taken the opportunity to stage the attack, knowing it would implicate humanity. Lieutenant Santos turned to him, her jaw clenched. Ambassador, they're making it look like we betrayed the Alliance. If the Council believes it, we'll lose everything. Brooks finished grimly, but not if we act now. Brooks, rallying the loyal human forces and Council security, ordered the immediate capture of the Sentinels on site. A swift but brutal skirmish ensued in the gardens surrounding the summit hall, where the human and alien forces fought side by side. This act of solidarity wasn't lost on the council members watching from a distance, their initial suspicion gradually giving way to understanding as they saw the lengths to which loyal humans were willing to go to protect the Alliance. Brooks himself confronted the Sentinels' leader, a former soldier named Nolan Grant, in the wreckage-strewn courtyard. Grant sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. "This alliance is a sham. Brooks, you're handing humanity's strength over to those who would hold us back, who would use us for their own ends. Can't you see they'll never see us as equals?" Brooks met his gaze with steely resolve. "No, Grant, it's you who can't see. This alliance isn't about power. It's about creating a future where humanity doesn't have to fight to prove its worth at every turn." Grant laughed, his eyes cold. "Keep fooling yourself, Brooks. You'll see soon enough what they think of us when the tides turn." But before Grant could do any more damage, Brooks signaled to the security forces, and the Sentinel leader was restrained and taken into custody. The council reconvened the following day, subdued and tense. Counselor Trax, recovering from her injuries, addressed the assembly, her voice steady but weary. "Let this day stand as a testament to humanity's resolve," she said, her gaze sweeping over the counselors. "Even in the face of betrayal from within their ranks, Ambassador Brooks and his loyal team protected us, putting their lives at risk for the sake of peace. It is clear that humanity's intentions go beyond conquest." Vree rose, his scaled face unreadable. "Then let it be known across the galaxy, humanity has earned its place among us, not through force, but through a commitment to unity that even their own extremists could not shatter." Brooks, standing quietly among the counselors, exhaled, relief flooding through him. Humanity's loyalty had been tested, and despite the darkest intentions of the Sentinels, they had proven their worth. As the council adjourned, Counselor Trax approached him. "This is only the beginning, Ambassador," she said with a soft smile, "but today, we have taken the first step toward a future that once seemed impossible." Brooks nodded, his expression resolute. "We have, Counselor, and I think we're ready for whatever challenges come next." In that moment, as the galaxy's leaders looked out over the horizon of Elendra Prime, there was a shared understanding that a new era had dawned, one where humans and aliens would stand together, stronger than ever before.